gosh, this is really back in there. Maybe a 4-wheel drive.
You got it. Mike's taking us down to check out all the cool stuff he's got on his property here.
700 pounds, $1.5 million.
Oh wow.
Building the next version of the hydro now.
Is that a silicon?
This is impressive.
So basically, I'll give you the 5-minute tour here.
Sounds good.
All right, you're looking at a fairly significant section of my generating capacity. It generates all of my energy. This is cooking gas, heating gas, fuel for my vehicle, all my energy needs.
Awesome.
So anything that can be done with fossil fuel can be done with hydrogen.
Of course.
The house has been running for going on 5 years now with almost no maintenance whatsoever. Just changing the filters out. The solar system itself is pretty much maintenance free.
Now the solar panel, that whole process of creating the hydrogen, it's essentially splitting water molecules
into its base elements, H2O.
Right.
80% of every molecule in the universe is hydrogen. All right, 2/3 of the planet here is water.
Right.
Hydrogen isn't found naturally in the environment, so we have to split it, and it takes energy to split it.
And that's what the solar's for.
And that's what the solar's for. The problem with renewable energy is that, you can't store it. There's tons of stories that the windmills and solar systems are shutting down because because the grid can't accept it. All right, and batteries are big, they're expensive, they're heavy, and they only last 5 years, and they're not good in different environments. Hydrogen is forever. There's no shelf life. It's as good today as it'll be 100 million years from now. If you have a leak with hydrogen, it's safer than any fuel we currently know. 45 miles an hour into outer space. Hydrogen and helium are the only two gases that leave the planet.
Now this kind of, I guess, like almost a closed loop system you've
This
kind of
is a closed
here.
loop system. The energy here, when I need it, the months that my solar system won't keep up is December, January, February, and part of March. Okay? In those months, I siphon off the hydrogen that I stored April, May, and June, and part of July, and I run it through the fuel cell in the dead of winter when my panels are covered with snow, and I generate electricity, heat, and chemically pure water.
Water that's one of the awesome byproducts of using the hydrogen to create energy is the only waste product is clean water.
Well, you got to understand, nothing gets consumed in this system, all right, and nothing gets transported. So basically, the water we start with is the water we end with. So we keep reusing the water. So the water, we use the water to make the hydrogen.
Right.
All right, when we make the hydrogen again, we get the water back.
Right.
We run it back through the electrolyzer again, so it's a continuous loop. So this is a self-sustaining system.
Hypothetically, hook this up to like a rainwater catchment, and then have clean water year round.
Absolutely.
As well.
I tried to reuse everything I could in this system, or use stuff that was stock in order to keep the prices down. These are used propane tanks, basically 1969 vintage.
Really?
Yeah, and since they have hydrogen in them, there's no degradation of the tank, and propane doesn't degrade the tank either. So these are just recycled tanks.
Wow.
And if I need more storage, I just add more. So you're looking at 45 days worth of storage here. The technology now, this was done almost 5 years ago, the technology now is high pressure. So I can take all of these tanks and put them into a space that's one tank, 6 foot long, 2 foot in diameter. Store the same amount of hydrogen under 5,000 pounds instead of 200. This is the way we're going to save this planet. But it takes a huge mindset. I mean, right now this is very disruptive technology. How do you tax free? The people
the powers that be
are making too much money over the existing system to want to change it, no matter how good it is for the planet.
That's crazy.
When a military goes to war, there's things called acceptable casualties.
Right.
One of those acceptable casualties is my son or daughter, or your relatives. It's not acceptable.
No. On either side.
Renewable energy on either
side.
side.
No.
Renewable energy is homeland security.
Now, I don't know how comfortable you are saying this on camera, but I would like, since we're taking kind of an activist stance with our website, You'd mentioned in Maniunk that you've even received, what, death threats
Oh,
for
all
this
the time,
technology?
yeah. Absolutely.
From utilities companies and things of the such?
People who have monopolies.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane. And we've come across other people that are making big leaps forward in the green revolution.
Well, I mean, picture having the holistic cure for cancer,
right?
And you're about to release it free to the world. There'll be a hit on you by the drug companies. You're not going to last 10 minutes.
In a second. So
life means nothing against the almighty dollar.
Right.
I mean, you know, you talk about conspiracy theories. You know, this is just logic and human nature. And you look what's happened in the past. You know, why do we go to war with other countries? We want their natural resources.
Yep. That's it.
You know, there was no weapons of mass destruction in the last war. It was a war over oil. So, controlling the resources, putting our people in place. Fuel cell, you can see here, is at the end. And the fuel cell, basically, it's an outdoor unit. Can you see it right here?
Over there?
It's connected to the tanks. There's an underground pipeline.
Okay.
All right, and this is a push-pull system. The electrolyzer pushes into the tanks, and the fuel cell takes it back out of the same. And it's all automated, so I don't have to do anything. Cool. And I'll actually give you a demonstration on how all that works.
Right.
Okay. And this technology is adaptable to everything: boats, cars, planes, you know, anything you can think of. And you can burn hydrogen in appliances, cooking gas, heating gas, you know, whatever you can burn, you know, whatever you burn, you know, fossil fuel for, you can burn hydrogen. And the nice thing about hydrogen, there's no carbon in it. So no CO2, no HC, no NOx.
And it burns a little hotter too.
Well, you're going to get to see that. But yeah, when you burn hydrogen, you get water.
Right.
So that's the emission. So you can burn this inside with no venting.
Right.
And you get 100% of the heat because you don't have to vent 50, you know, 20 to 50% out the stack.
Right. Unbelievable.
But this is a very radical way of thinking. This is very disruptive. But it's the right thing to do.
It is the right thing to do.
The right thing to do. This is the unit here that splits hydrogen and oxygen from the excess solar. Right now we're putting out 193 pounds. And my tanks are at 171, so I'm almost full.
It's not fast.
So this unit just sits there, and it takes chemically pure water. There's a reverse osmosis and DI that comes from the well. So it puts that water into this machine. This machine splits it. Oxygen goes off. Actually, I think I got the oxygen here. Yeah, this is pure oxygen out.
Oh yeah?
Okay, you can smell it. That's 100% pure oxygen. This is medical grade oxygen.
That's good oxygen.
So I can have a little oxygen bar here.
Yeah, right?
I think that would be good in
medical grade oxygen.
I was going to say in hospitals.
Yeah. So if you used one of the hyders and stuff in disaster relief, you can provide medical grade to the hospital.
Water and oxygen and...
Or you'll be all good to go 20 years from now when the world's completely polluted. You'll have fresh oxygen in your house.
The fuel cells here, you can feel how warm it is. So the heat from this heats the building. So excess heat goes to heat the building. We use the water again, we can remake more hydrogen. You know, put it right back into the electrolyzer again. And then this generates electricity. Here's the inverter in here that feeds it all back. So this is a continuous loop.
Yeah.
You know, no propane truck, no gasoline trucks, nothing gets delivered. And nothing gets consumed except for the sunlight. No sunlight, we're all dead.
Checking out the goodies.
Lots of goodies for sure. My electric / fuel cell motorcycle. Okay. Cool. So this is all being charged off of solar. So I have a fuel cell drop-in that drops right in. This is burning at 10,000 degrees. I'll shut the lights off.
10,000 degrees?
Yeah, propane burns at around 2. That natural gas. You can feel the tremendous heat that gives.
Won't be waiting a half hour to cook my bacon with that.
No. No, and that's actually glowing stainless steel, and you see the vapor that's going across the top? That's actually creating water. So you can do anything with hydrogen. You can do with fossil fuel.
Right.
And this is all, this is all rock hard technology. The space shuttle has used fuel cells every manned mission since Apollo for the last 50 years. Solar panels have been around since.
It makes you wonder why we're not using them. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, it's pretty easy to see why.
Like you were saying, yeah.
The last 8 years of Bush.
Yeah.
The oil companies didn't need a lobbyist.
No.
He was in the White House.
So
what do you do with the waste?
What do you say to people that maybe have concerns over hydrogen being unsafe as far as?
Well, first of all, as far as hydrogen safety goes, when you're using it at low pressure or compressed like that, the energy density is not there.
Okay.
All right, if you have a leak with a propane, it sits at the bottom and waits for an ignition source, then all of the energy goes up all at once. Hydrogen, since it's lighter than air, this tank weighs as much as an empty tank.
No way. Can I?
Yeah, go ahead, pick it up. That's full.
Wow, this is full.
Yeah, full. Hydrogen weighs no more full than empty.
Wow.
People who are putting out fuel cells like the Bloom box and things like that are running it off of natural gas, reformed natural gas to hydrogen. That's what's called brown hydrogen.
Okay.
All right, which means they could get the funding from the gas companies to build those fuel cells because they were turning it. They were trying to make a dirty fuel look clean.
Right.
When all they were doing was disguising the fuel under a different label.
Okay.
Unless it's made like this, it's not green.
I got you.
Think about who the largest investors in alternative energy currently are.
What are you talking? Yeah.
GE,
Shell Hydrogen,
Shell Hydrogen.
BP Hydrogen.
They're
It's
investing
the oil
in wind,
companies. They're
investing
making their
in
dirty
solar,
fuel look clean.
They're investing constantly in new technologies because they know as it slowly gets replaced, they want to be in place to be in control of it.
Right.
That's really.
But this is too far ahead of them because this doesn't use any fossil fuel. You can buy an oil well, you can buy a coal mine. You can't buy a piece of sun.
Yeah.
He who doesn't change goes the way of the dinosaur.
Yeah.
We're going to be extinct. And we have to change. In this country, it's hard to change. If you can't teach an old dog new tricks, well, if we don't, the species is not going to survive.
Right.
Well,
we're talking about a huge infrastructure. I mean, this is almost a bigger development effort than that.
No, that's what they're telling you. You're listening to the same propaganda.
Could be, yeah.
All right? Look, I'm going to tell you, we already have the infrastructure for this.
Really?
There's 1.5 million miles today that can be used for hydrogen, gas lines.
Okay. And they can just be converted over just like that. For hydrogen.
There's no converting. You got to change some of the valves and the
That's
fittings
it.
for the properties of hydrogen, but the pipeline doesn't change.
I didn't know that. I didn't know it was that easy.
That's how
Most
easy it
people,
is.
I don't think, know it's
Nope.
that easy.
1.5 million miles of pipeline in the U.S. that can be used for hydrogen. The most dangerous people on the planet are the people who have nothing to lose.
There you go.
Okay?
Yeah.
They're the people who are going to make the biggest noise. And what I see happening in the U.S. is that group is growing here. When you can't afford the goods and services that you produce, and you can't afford your mortgage, and you can't afford to feed your family, and you can't afford, your energy bills, and you're losing your home, it starts to become a dangerous segment of the population, and it's growing. And there's going to be revolution. That's how you're going to get change. Think about how much solar that you could put. You could put, a 100K system on every man, woman, and child for what we spent on wars in the last 10 years.
It's ridiculous.
The trillions of dollars.
that we're still spending.
Yeah.
That we're still spending. People think oil is the price you pay at the pump. Oil is not the price you pay at the pump. People forget the chain, the wheels to well of how this thing happens. You know how much energy actually gets used out of gasoline or diesel fuel by the time it gets to you? About 3.5 times. It's got to be trucked all the way from Saudi Arabia, pumped out of the ground, drilled. Then it has to be protected by a whole fleet of ships in getting here so it doesn't get hit by the Somali pirates. All right, then it's got to get to the refinery where it's got to be refined, and then it's got to be distributed, then it's got to be trucked, wholesaler to the retailer, and it's got to be taxed 19 times before it gets to you.
It's insane. The whole system's insane.
Why do you think petroleum is unregulated? It's the only utility that you have to have that's a necessity. It's unregulated. When Reagan came in office, that's what he did. He deregulated oil. After the last oil crisis, he said, let's let the market control the prices. Well, you see how that worked, didn't it? In 2000, It holds the world record for a hydrogen car by about 3 times.
So this is a fuel cell vehicle you built in 2000.
2000. It won the President's Award for the Environment in 2000.
Awesome.
All right. The vehicle goes 0 to 60 in 6 seconds and tops out at 130 miles an hour.
6 seconds?
6 seconds.
Wow.
This will outrun a Corvette in 4 miles.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Okay, it's got a bus engine in it. It's got a 104 horse electric motor. And this was technology that was existent back in 2000. Right now, the fuel cells in here are twice the power and they're the size of a lunchbox.
I'm going to get a look at this.
Yeah, I got it.
But this is enough to power 7 homes.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, I powered this house here for almost a year just off of the car. There's a plug in here. I can pull this out and I plug it into the inverters in the house.
Wow. Now, I noticed it's got a little solar power.
Yeah, it keeps the service battery charged, you know, to run the 12 volt for the lights and the low voltages.
So you can basically charge up at home with your hydrogen as much as you need for your car, go out, come back.
Yeah, you had a power failure, you can plug your car into your house.
Wow. Now, once these tanks are filled up, or the fuel cells are filled up,
the fuel cells run on hydrogen. It's in the back. This car has a range of 472 miles.
470 miles. That's about a full tank of gas. That's more than a full tank of gas.
That's more than a full tank.
We have a hybrid we're running,
and this is
about 400.
And this is a full-size car.
Yeah.
Now, if you have a hydrogen vehicle, it gets the equivalent of about 75 miles per gallon for an SUV.
Okay.
Because the fuel cell is about 55%, an internal combustion engine is about 15%. The hybrid may be 20.
Yeah.
The other thing that's interesting about this car is that it's called an AIV. An AIV is an aluminum-intensive vehicle. There were 20 of these cars built by Ford Motor Company and Alcoa Aluminum at a cost of $33 million. They wanted to test the crashworthiness of aluminum vehicles, the safety. So they crash tested 17 of these cars. And they crash tested safer than the Mercedes 300D, safest car in the world.
Really?
And yeah, this car weighs 70% less than the average car because it's built out of aluminum. Just to give you an idea, I grab that. That's carbon aluminum. These are the rotors that are on this car. The whole car is aluminum.
So, what was the
everything
not using it?
Well, back to what I told you before. It's basically, you want to build a car that will never rust. You know, people buy cars every 2 or 3 years in Rochester. You know, because the car rots out. It has to just get past the warranty. And they blame it on the salt in the roads. This one would never rust. This is forever.
What's a car like this cost to produce?
Believe it or not, they can produce it for not much more than a regular car, but it's back to selling more cars. If you build something too good, you put yourself out of business. Make your money in parts. They make their money in parts and service. If you have a vehicle that has no service, building the best mousetrap is not always the solution to being successful. It's building one that you have to keep buying. It's like curing a disease. The drug companies learned when they cured polio, there was no more repeat business. Haven't cured another disease since. You know, we come into this world with nothing. We live a block of time, no matter how short or long that may be. What we do in that block of time defines our existence on this planet forever. And the people that we touch every day, like I'm touching you guys, you know, and the things and actions that we do, and how we live our lives. All right, people are all consumed with the wrong things in life. Money is important. Money's not important to me. Legacy is important. You know, what kind of thing am I going to? What kind of condition am I going to leave this planet in for the next generation? Am I going to be able to cure disease and pestilence? Well, I can't do it all, but I decided I'm going to leave the gift of renewable energy to the next generation.
It's amazing.
Unfortunately, it's up to you guys. Well, we're trying
we
to spread the word.
We can show the way, and I can turn over the technology, and it's really up to you.
Your generation that really control which direction we take.
The baby boomers are on their way out.
We're done.
We're handing over the torch.
And I have a good feeling about it. I think a lot of us...
People have to think out of the box.
Yeah.
You know, I told you some pretty radical ideas today.
You did.
You know, and if you can't dream it, you can't build it. But it's going to make society a better place. But it can't be based on greed anymore. What does money mean if you destroy the whole planet around you, if there's no place to live?